Hello and welcome to Oh What a Marvel, the show on the Merc with the Movie Blog YouTube channel where we are talking about Marvel Studios' Disney Plus series, Moon Knight. I am one of your hosts, Sean, and I'm joined as always by Dean. Hello, Dean. How's it going?
How's it going? What a ride. What
What
an
a
emotional
ride.
ride.
It's over, though. This was it. This was Marvel Studios' Moon Knight.
This wasn't it, Oscar Isaac. Don't
No,
don't think you can come in here fooling us thinking that you're some special case that
that you're
that
never going to
doesn't
be back
sign
again.
that you're
Yeah,
never gonna sign the thing, you're never gonna be back. Like, come
you're going to
on.
sign the thing. You're going to sign the
You're
thing.
gonna do a thing. You might have a little bit of weight over the direction of the script, but not
Mhm.
much. And you'll be in
Mhm.
there. All we need is your many beautiful faces.
Yes.
Anyway,
This week we're talking about episode 6, the finale. It was called Gods and Monsters, directed by Mohammed Diab again, who was the kind of showrunner for this show. Writing credits. So here's the thing. This episode is interesting because the story was by Danielle Iman and let me try that again. Danielle Iman and Jeremy Slater with the and symbol in there. And I have an update from last week, Dean. I looked up what the difference is. So
go
if
on.
it's typed out AND, that means that the writers wrote separately. And the symbol means that it's a writing team.
Oh, I see. That's
So,
interesting.
yeah,
That's a much more distinct difference than I thought it was going to be.
yeah,
I thought it was going to be
yeah.
real convoluted, but yeah, that totally
No,
makes sense.
yeah. So, story was by them. The actual teleplay was written by Jeremy Slater and then Peter Cameron and Sabir Pirzada. And Peter Cameron and Sabir Pirzada were a writing team. You know, this is what we're learning about. We're learning about the real shit, not the Moon
Yes.
Knight stuff. The writing teams of the of the
We need to know the contract legalities
yeah
of how they are billed, and
yeah
did the writers hate each other, and were they in
yeah.
the same room?
I'm surprised. I don't know if this is a thing actually, but I'm surprised that there has not yet been like an office style sitcom about writers in like a Marvel Studios type environment. Like the writer's
Yeah.
room inside of like a big action,
Did you watch The Boys?
I watched the first season.
There's some stuff more so in season two that
Hmm.
kind of really gets into that. They're making like the movie about the Seven,
Yeah.
and they're like working in like what's going on in the characters' lives to like
Uh,
into the storyline, and they're trying to like do spins with like the PR and everything.
yeah.
And yeah, there's a great line in there about Josh Whedon doing a rewrite on the script and like some really fun stuff.
Uh-huh.
But
I'm
Moon Knight,
surprised that that's not a thing though, I feel like that'd be a
it
pretty
should
funny
be a
show.
thing.
It should
I
be.
think more on the wall kind of. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get
This
it going.
this episode aired on May 4th, 2022, which you would not think would be the
Tough.
case because you'd think they'd put a Star Wars show out on May 4th, but
That's
they
a
put
tough
out
hill
Moon
to
Knight.
climb for Moon Knight.
Yeah.
No matter how good you are, people will be like, "It's not fucking Star Wars.
Yeah,
It's May the 4th. Give me
where's
my
Obi-Wan?
fix."
Yeah. And there was an Obi-Wan trailer yesterday.
There
So
was a pretty good Obi-Wan trailer yesterday.
Moon Knight
I'm
had to share
quite
the
excited.
yeah, Moon Knight had to share the
The
share the
Moonlight.
the Moonlight. Oh, that was good. Oh, damn. All right, Dean. What overall general thoughts of the episode? I'm curious, what did you think?
I think they generally stuck the landing
Yeah.
um pretty well as far as like the emotional aspect of the series and the character, um and as far as just like an actual like Marvel action superhero show, they
Mhm.
just about landed the landing.
Yeah.
um like it was nothing overly wrong with it, but it wasn't overall mind blowing. There's some really cool elements to it though. There's some
Mhm.
really good stuff. I feel like we got enough, and I'm not saying like anything bad. I'm just saying like nothing like wasn't spectacular, but it really did deliver on, you know, more than enough on all the fronts. Would I have liked it to have popped a little harder in some places? Yes. Um, do I think we have a villain problem? Yes.
Yeah.
Not the strongest, and it was exactly what I think we thought it was going to be, really.
I was
But
really disappointed.
I liked it. What, in
Yeah,
the
I was
episode
really no,
overall?
no, 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 no. In Harrow specifically, you're talking about a villain problem.
Yeah.
Extremely disappointed with Harrow. I would say that I think this episode stuck the landing, but it was the messiest landing for me so far of the MCU shows.
Really?
Overall, I enjoyed this. Like, if I were to rank the finales, it would be like Loki, then WandaVision, then this one. So this ending, this finale is still above like Hawkeye and Falcon and Winter Soldier for me. But there were things in this episode that I really loved, and there were quite a few things in this episode that I really did not like. And we'll kind of
I'm
get into
intrigued.
those as we kind of talk about it, because I have my notes here of kind of the big
Speaking of
things.
which, I need to grab mine real quick.
Yeah. It was the shortest episode. I'm just gonna kind of fill time while D grabs his notes. Oh, he's already back. Boom. It was the shortest episode, which I think you could feel.
It was like 40 minutes if you take away the credits.
I think it was 35 minutes without the credits.
This could have done with like 45, 50
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
There's a couple of elements to this episode that they really could have fleshed out. The stuff with Layla, I really enjoyed, but there was a few moments was like I really would have liked to have seen that expanded upon, where she's talking to what's the name, Terret,
Oh yeah,
the
Tara.
thing,
Yeah.
and like where she touches on like, you know, wanting to convince her to be an avatar, and then she mentions meeting her dad. These all kind of things that we really kind of breezed through, and I don't think we rushed through them. Like, we got what we needed to get, but I would have liked a little more from that. But also, they wanted to get us to the Moon Knight, which again, I was very eager to see that stuff as well.
Yeah.
And I was worried at one point early on in the episode. I'm thinking, oh man, we're really just lingering, like going over like kind of like the same kind of ground a little bit here as the last like two previous episodes, which were completely Moon Knight free, which is fine. You know, I'm not all about the action, but for the first portion of this episode, it's like, oh man, we're really gonna take a few beats to get
And it's a short episode too, like we said.
And
you
exactly,
know?
so that's why I was worried about.
Yeah, you're watching the time tick down, and you're like,
I'm watching the time tick down. I'm like, where's? I want to get my Moon Knight, but we do get some real great character stuff in those.
Yes.
Some in those opening minutes with Mark and Stephen returns. Of course, they wasn't going to keep him dead.
Yeah,
I thought we was going to wait till the end of the episode before we saw him back, but we get Stephen back pretty quick. But it's a great scene, really great scene.
So, well, okay. So the episode length, I'm looking at Disney Plus right now, but without the post-credit scene, it's like 36 minutes. And then maybe 38 with the post-credit scene. All right, let's talk about how this thing at the beginning. We're gonna let's front load this with the stuff that I didn't like, because I don't want to talk. Like, I want to get that out of the way, and I want to gush about the show. But you mentioned something I didn't like. I didn't like how quickly they brought back Steven. It felt like if you were to binge the show, right? Okay, if you were to watch episodes 5 and 6 back to back, Steven would be gone for 2 minutes. You know? Like, he's gone. And I also think the choice for Mark to go back isn't a good choice with the context of what is happening. Like, if this was a personal story, if this was Soul, you know, where this person has died and they just want to continue to live, you know, but them choosing not to live and to go back, that's a powerful moment. But when the world is ending and you're one of the only people that can stop it, going back because your buddy is gone isn't the right choice at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah, and also it goes deeper than that because which I did think the same thing. And also it's like, yeah, you want to hold on to Stephen, but also as much as we all love Stephen, and I'm not saying that, like mental health is inherently
Yeah.
bad, but also it that is developed as part of like a deep rooted mental health problem,
Mm-hmm.
which presumably one would generally be trying to like find a way to like, you know, deal
Yeah.
with that and cope with that and manage that.
Yeah.
And it's like you've now got the choice of like you've been through this internal journey, and it's like, yeah, you want to hold on to Stephen, almost like how like bad habits are
Mm-hmm.
just we keep going back to. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not calling Stephen a bad habit. I
No,
like the
yeah, yeah,
guy,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's just a way of like, is that the like what you say? Is that the right choice for the character to be making?
Mm-hmm.
With that paired with also the fact that there is some actual like world changing shit going on, but
I mean,
also does he need to lose Stephen to like progress as
yeah,
Mark, who is,
yeah,
like it
yeah.
or not, is the man, is
The
the original
primary,
guy.
yeah, the primary personality. It's just, I think that action, because of the context around it's supposed to be a selfless action. That's what they want it to play as, but I think it comes across very selfish for him to go back and doom the world to essentially another Thanos snap. Like they're
Yeah,
essentially going to blip away half the population again.
yeah, it is a little bit, but then he is still a human. He's a human with a mental health problem
Oh,
and
yeah,
an on-off relationship with a manipulating fucking ancient god. So it's like, yeah, he is gonna make that not necessarily the best decision, but also he does
yes,
come all the way round to to wanting to make the right decisions later. And also Stephen does as well. And they, maybe he knew that he needed that extra piece to kind of get him over the hurdle there from from a moral standpoint, not from an action standpoint,
yeah.
although Stephen does come to
Steven kicks some
play.
ass. Okay, I think if they had played it in a way of like I'm not strong enough to go on alone or something like that, like because
Hmm.
the scene the way it plays wants you to think this is the right thing that he's doing. That he's making the good choice and he's being rewarded with it. And I don't know if that's accurate, you
You've
know?
got to say though, you've got to agree that in a vacuum, the scene is beautifully well done,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
like the acting and the writing of the scene
I mean
is really
Oscar
well
Isaac is
handled.
incredible. Yeah. Okay.
It
Oh,
just comes off at the wrong time in the wrong context. Yeah.
that was something I'd wanted to mention at the top, and I forgot to. This show does something in the finale that I've never had happen to me with a piece of media, where it makes a ton of choices that I don't like, and then immediately executes them very well, and makes me go, "All right, fine. I don't agree with what this is happening, but you're like, I don't think this was the right choice for you to make, but you're doing it really well. So who cares? Like, usually it's the other way around, right? Where you're like, I know what you were going for, but you really didn't hit the landing on this. Whereas this one is like, this feels like the wrong thing to do in this scenario, but you guys are making it work. So who cares?
There's a couple of moments like that in this episode for
Yeah.
me. I don't know if they're going to be the same things for you. They're much smaller and they don't really affect the plot really, just visuals.
Okay, let's talk about Harrow because Harrow, big problem with Harrow. I think totally wasted in this finale Ethan Hawke's acting abilities. I hate
But
that
the
he
sweat
just,
glands though, they're getting paid overtime
oh yeah,
because
but
that's all he does. You
I
know,
like he gets down there like they free Amit and he's like on his knees and he's like I'm not worthy. My scales aren't balanced. And then Amit is like, who cares if your scales are balanced? And that should
I
be a
have
moment of personal faith crisis. That should be Harrow going, what? I've done all these things in your name, and you're just throwing away these deep held beliefs that I have. Like, there should be something there, but no, he's like, okay, I'll play along with whatever you want. Like, it's just,
I had a fun relationship with this very specific scene actually.
Uh-huh.
So I'm glad you bring this
Yeah.
up,
Okay.
right? Because I'm sitting there, and Amit says about your scales aren't balanced, and at first I'm thinking, oh, you motherfucker, you didn't even you didn't even apply your own rules to yourself and do the
Mhm.
thing on yourself before you even started this whole thing. That's exactly what
Mhm.
you should have done.
Mhm.
And then I thought, wait a minute, that's exactly what every religious
Yeah.
figure does. Is
Yeah.
they preach one thing and then
Yeah.
they themselves do not abide by the same rules that they impose on others. So I thought it's a perfect for a religious cult leader. It's like,
I think it's
yeah,
perfect for Amit, but
yeah,
to me, Harrow isn't the cult leader. Harrow's a zealot that is following Amit. So I
yeah.
feel like, and
I
he
what
has his underlings, but
Yeah,
like,
what I didn't like is how he literally just resigns. He just stops. He literally, as soon as Amit shows up, he just stops being a character
oh
like
yeah, no,
that.
he's just somebody for you to fight now.
Yeah, there's no, and he doesn't have. I mean, obviously, he really believes in what he's trying to do, but in a kind of like Jonestown kind of way, like he wants to like be the guy in charge. It seems, and have the power to do to do the decisions and the balancing. But straight away here, it's just like, yep, you can just use my body, have me. I don't even matter. Which is literally like the writers just saying, we don't know
Yeah,
what to do with this guy.
because it feels
And
like
this,
he's
oh,
not the cult leader that doesn't buy into what he's saying, right? That's just manipulating. He believes in what he's doing
oh yeah, he definitely does.
until he doesn't.
Which, yeah, I mean, he still does because he's still committed to the cause, but he's committed to the cause on the behalf of somebody else at that point, not
Yeah.
because of his own um agency as he had been. Latest Gators.
Latest Gators. Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's the best.
I just think it would have been cool if you'd like when because the avatar of whoever is like we don't have enough avatars to do the thing, and it would have been interesting if Harrow had helped seal away Ahmed. If he had been like, hey, uh, I've very clearly been wrong about Ahmed here because Ahmed doesn't believe what I believe. You know,
Yeah. I
like
mean, that would
Ahmed.
have been something worth doing, but then we wouldn't get the ending.
I think you could still have the fights. Oh, you mean the ending post credits?
I mean,
I
ending,
think you
yeah.
still could. Because I still think that like Harrow believes like in this scenario, Harrow's an even bigger radical than Amit is. You know, so I
Yeah.
still think you could have that end credit scene. Anyways, I'll stop. The only other thing about Harrow that I didn't like was that when Harrow became an avatar, he became a superhero. And I mean, I don't even know. Like, do they directly
Yeah.
say that he's Amit's avatar at that point? Because he's kind of just doing the same stuff he's always been doing.
Yeah, well, he
Except
does
now he
say
can
that he's
fly,
going to
I
accept
guess.
him as an avatar, and he does
Yeah.
get like increased like strength and stuff because we get that really early 2000 shot where they're running down the pyramid at
Yeah,
each
which
other.
was so cool.
It was cool until we get to like the knee to the face and the slow mo chin
Yeah.
up in the air. I was
I
I was just like, oh, I guess so. So he's super powered now. Like we don't get into like what Emmett like. We don't
what
get
does
into any
being
of
an
this
avatar
stuff.
mean?
What does
What do
the
you get
Avatar
from
get?
it?
Because they're obviously different. Because we establish it earlier on in the series where they all kind of have like a different way of like kind of
Because Moon Knight
handling it.
does Moon Knight does not just have super like durability. Moon Knight is wearing a suit that they set that up early on that the suit is what is invulnerable. Is that
Yeah,
when he puts
but
on the
no,
suit, then he can do,
he
like
just gets
that.
glowing purple laser eyes,
But
and he's just and it. You're just supposed to know that he's strong, Sean, because we've seen superhero shit, and it's
it, I
relying on the trope.
I would be okay with that. What pushed it over the line for me, and I can see it vividly in my head when they're flying over the city, and then Moon Knight punts him into the ground with the force that should cause a human being to splatter on the concrete, and then Harrow just gets back up. And I'm like, he's not wearing a suit. Like, if they had put a super suit on him, like they put on Layla, all right,
Yeah.
I'm down,
Oh,
Like, Well,
Oh, are we gonna
I'm
get into
saving
that?
I'm saving Layla because Layla's a part of the show I really liked. So I'm just trying to
Yeah.
get the stuff I didn't like out of the way. Um,
Right on.
which, yeah, it's just that one I wish they'd given Harrow a suit at least, or some
I would have liked to
indication
have seen
that
something. I mean,
that's
we don't even know
yeah,
how he became a avatar of Khonshu. We just completely
yeah,
skate over that. Like, you could have really have had a flashback in this episode or in the last two episodes, to just and even as an excuse to just show some action in there, but have a
mhm,
flashback with Harrow. Let's see why and how he became the avatar. So at least then, when if you do this ending, you've kind of got a bit more context and a bit more meat to chew on. So yeah, it, it and it wasn't terrible. I
no,
mean, he was fine, and the story was always in the relationship between the two
yeah,
guys and Layla,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and and all of that stuff absolutely shines. And
yeah.
he was kind of just bland to me throughout the whole series. He wasn't horrible. He was serviceable, and like I say, the show wasn't riding on him like a Daredevil on Kingpin or something. So
Yeah,
I didn't feel the loss from the show that much, and it stayed away. It didn't do too much of the flipping in the air, super punching each other around the
yeah,
city or anything. It
yeah.
kept it to a minimum, and the stuff that we do get, the action, it's frustrating because you don't even need that stuff. Because when he's just fighting the guys, and when they're all just
It's
fighting the
cool.
guys, there's some
Cool.
great. But we'll
Yeah,
get back to that
yeah,
stuff in a bit. Let's back up.
yeah. I think I enjoyed Harrow a lot more than you did as an antagonist across the show, and that's why this was a lot more disappointing to me. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
but
he's doing
let's.
some acting. He's
Oh
internalizing
yeah.
something. I just don't know what it fucking is.
I just love the trope of the zealot. It's a fun villain.
He
Um,
played it well,
yeah.
but
That's actually those are kind of the things that I didn't like about the episode. The one other like complaint I had, and actually I'm happy this was the only complaint I had with the CGI. When he suits up, um, it looks like a video game. uh, when he,
it's annoying because it's like the suits in layers, right?
yeah,
Just some layers look good and
yeah,
some
and
layers
some, yeah.
don't. There's like a
But
photorealistic layer and then a cartoony layer.
when he's wearing it, I
Oh,
think it looks fine. It's just when it's coming up around him that I was like, ooh, this does not
yeah,
look as good as like Iron Man putting on the armor. You know what I'm saying? Like the suit up scene is not entirely doing it
yeah.
for me. Was there anything about the episode that you didn't like that you want to hit on right now?
No, I think we
We
covered
kind of covered it.
most of it. I don't know.
We can talk, and if anything else comes
there
up,
might be a plot hole
yeah,
here or there or that might come up, but I
yeah.
don't think. I think we get the negative stuff out, and that's fine.
All right, let's talk about Layla because Layla, I want a Layla spinoff yesterday. I love
Right.
Layla so much, and I love that we get this. I think this is an adaptation of a character I was reading online called the Scarlet Scarab,
Yes.
which is
I
apparently her
will say
father in the
though,
comics.
did I already mention that I would have liked a bit more of the backstory on her stuff? So
Yeah,
that's the only
yeah.
thing that I have. However, for this, so I'm watching the episode, right? The, not out of nowhere, but they build the character up just enough that I'm not like rolling my eyes when she appears, and it reminded me a lot of the Shazam movie, right?
Oh, it does.
Where it's like, oh, it's like my brain's like telling me like I should be thinking, really, we're just gonna throw all of them at the screen in the first movie, just kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah,
But on the other hand, I'm like, this just feels right somehow, and it
I
seems
love that suit.
inevitable, and it's fun enough, and it's handled ridiculously. And I'm thinking in my head, I don't remember Moon Knight ever having a sidekick.
Mm,
What's going on here? I'm trying to think like who is this is
yeah.
this a new character? Who is this supposed to be?
Mhm.
So during watching the episode, before I did what you did and looked up who the fuck she is supposed to be,
Yeah.
I did come up with a list of potential Moon Knight sidekick
Okay.
names.
Okay, let's hear him. Let's hear him.
So let's let's see what we think of these.
Okay.
So Moon Girl, start with an obvious
Of
one.
course. Of course.
Shorten it, Mooney. Hmm. Luna Lass.
Oh, I like Luna Lass.
We can shorten that to Looney, which might be a little bit,
Yeah. A little on the
derogatory in
nose.
conjunction
Yeah.
with the show.
Yeah.
So coming up next, we have Crater Face.
Crater face? Like taser
Because
face?
well, crater because like the moon has craters, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um, Glow Girl, Lady Light,
Lady Light.
Night Light.
Nightlight.
You can do that with a K.
Oh, there you go.
Crescent.
Crescent. Oh, I really like Crescent.
Right, here's one of my favourites. The
Okay.
Sky Squire.
The Sky Squire is pretty good.
Um, coming up next, we have Night Nurse with a K.
We just we're just when Rosario Dawson shows up, it's gonna be really confusing.
All right, does that mean Nightwing is off the table as well? With a K though, with a K.
Are any of the names just Wonder Woman from Wonder Woman 1984?
It does look a bit like that. No, I
Yeah,
tell you
yeah.
what. I do have Nightly
Niall.
um with a K.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, here's a fun one. Desert Eagle.
That's really good. That one is really good.
Because she's got wings and
Yeah,
Egypt is sand,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
Desert Eagle. God.
And then we have White Knight
Oh,
with a
yeah,
K.
yeah. Uh, sounds like they might be
Yeah,
on Peacemaker. I don't know.
little bit edgy.
Yeah.
Which brings me up to my final one, which probably isn't going to go down so well.
Oh no.
White chick,
White chick.
because the
Yeah, I
moon is
don't know.
white and
Yeah.
she's a chick.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that would. I don't know if
So
Kevin
welcome
Feige's gonna
everyone
go
to
for that
my
one. Yeah.
sidekick naming segment.
Not a whole
So
lot Scarlet about the Scarab in
there's
this.
not a whole lot of Scarab stuff or Scarlet stuff going
So
on.
you want to know what I just found out when I just Googled Scarlet Scarab in this? The reason for that is she was originally going to be the avatar of Isis.
Right, because there's a whole bunch of avatars to
Yeah.
choose from, right? She's in
Yeah.
the fucking chamber and they're like, all you got to do is bust the thing open, release the god. And she
Yeah.
kind of basically knows how it all works at this point. And I'm thinking, I'm like, shit, just bust them all open.
Yeah. See
The
what happens.
chances, some of them, you're going to end up with some good ones. But chances are none of them are going to be worse. Unless you
Yeah.
get unless one of the gods wants to just wipe out all humanity, then I suppose that's worse. But
Yeah.
chances are that's not the case, and
We
like
can hope.
we could save them for a sequel or a second season, I guess, that we are getting, Oscar. But
So
yeah,
oh, yeah.
I was excited to see her become the avatar, an avatar. I thought
Yeah.
we was going to see more avatars because he's the guy very specifically
He
says
says we need more, and then
we
there's
need
two
more
of them.
avatars, and they literally just use one more. So it's like I wasn't sure if she was supposed to have like, or if they were like because they were holding hands, it was like a guardians
But
thing where they could embody all of the gods at once or something.
but Dean, Moon Knight is 3 personalities in one, so that's like 4 avatars.
Well, no, because the rules. I mean, that's
It's
great
like
logic.
no,
It's
no.
great logic, and I wish that was the case. But as we get later on in the episode, I think we kind of bend the rules. I don't know. It kind of gets a little bit convoluted regarding which personality is the Avatar and how that power is
Yeah.
transferred and how it works. And I love the reveal moment at the end, not to skip ahead, but it
We'll get
does
to it. We'll get
raise
to
some
it. Yeah.
questions. I've got questions.
All right. Let's talk about Moon Knight and Layla teaming up and doing fighting. Oh, it's so cool. Oh, it's such a cool action sequence.
So good. Like two Moon Knights really,
Yeah.
because
Oh, how he
the
swaps. Oh,
interplay when
it's
he
so
throws
colorful too.
the baton and then it bounces and then the other Moon Knight catches
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
lost my shit because it's like they're working perfectly in sync, but also it's still just that bit chaotic where you're not quite
Yeah.
sure because once you see it happen like once, you know they're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
And it was set up reasonably well, like with like the proto version of that
Yeah.
scene in London, right, where he's not doing it to such
Yeah.
great effect.
Yeah.
So
And it's
once
not
as
on
soon as
purpose, really, you know?
no, as soon as it happens the first time, because he says, "Oh, we've got some new abilities." As soon as it happens that first time, I'm like, they're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
And the fun in trying to predict every time when the camera cuts, I'm like,
Oh,
is it gonna be
yeah.
the other one? And my
Yeah.
brain's trying to do it, and they didn't write it like so it was super obvious. They did it just
Yeah.
enough, and
Yeah.
with Layla in there as well, and just the whole simpatico of everything. It was some really well made and well earned action.
Great. Oh, it's a great action sequence.
Would
I'm
I've
so
liked
glad we
more
got
of
it.
that, like a few minutes less of Purple Man, but maybe,
Or
but
just a
that's
longer
fine.
episode, you know?
Yeah, I would have liked a longer episode for more of any like either the relationship stuff, more of the like the lore of the gods, or more of the
Yeah.
action. Any of it, I would have happily have watched another 5-6 minutes of.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
fine.
and all that was so cool. But everything in this episode happened about how I expected it to, except I was not expecting a kaiju battle.
Going on in the background, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
we
that
haven't
was
even talked about
awesome.
Amit yet,
Yeah,
because the
Amit.
kaiju
Okay.
battle is great. But when we first see Amit come up on the screen, and the first thing she says is something about the scales, and I'm like, is that a pun? And I know it's not supposed to be, and maybe it's because we're not that far off of Alligator Loki, but I just could not take this thing seriously.
Yeah. Well, they're again, we never have enough time in the world for all the questions that these shows pose to us.
36 minutes.
Yeah, but there's also an implied relationship between. There's something implied between Amit and Khonshu. The way they talk to each other is very
Oh, the
familiar.
sass.
She's trying to get him on her side. Like there's an implied something there that like I want to know more about, you know?
There's a lot of that to a lot of this stuff with between them and between like how the dynamic of the gods, the avatars that we get in the earlier one. But I
Mhm.
definitely feel like because she says like, "Oh, you've seen better days," and I'm thinking, really? And then I thought, no, actually, she's right because
Yeah.
all the other gods that we've seen so far have been like animal based, but they've still
Yeah.
got their skin, and
Yeah, that's true.
he's
That's
just a
true.
bony carcass.
He
So
looks so
he's
cool though.
definitely been getting like riled up in the fucking nitty gritty shit when everyone else has been staying out of it, and he's not even trying to hide it. He's just like, yeah, look at me. I just come from fighting some fucking vengeance just a minute ago.
Yeah.
Every day. So yeah, I definitely want more of that stuff. And when we see him again at the end and he's got the different suit on, I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, man got an
Yeah,
upgrade.
dude, look at him. How'd you feel about us essentially blinking through most of the final confrontation between Moon Knight
It's,
and Harrow? I think it works for what
it,
it's supposed to be.
it is, and it's risky. And again, I literally just said I don't want more of them, just like superpower beatdown nonsense. But also, it wasn't like we just cut out some action, it was also like he had him down on the floor with the big beam in
Yeah.
his chest. So we're kind of missing out like a big plot beat of just, or at least like a logic leap of like, well, how does he get out of that? Because up until that point, they're doing that annoying thing that I hate, where the hero is like down and they're getting beaten and they're clearly beaten, but then just because they have a one final moment of belief that they cannot be
Yeah.
beaten, that they are able to like overcome it, and they're just
Yeah.
getting up to do that, and then boom, it cuts, right?
It's
So is
it's
he just?
weird.
So he's just, is that just them trying to set up like this dude is just dangerous? He gets out of
Yeah.
any situation. You don't
Yeah.
even need to fucking know.
I
You
mean,
don't
that's what
even want to
happened
know.
earlier,
And
in the episode.
yeah,
Yeah.
it plays exactly off of, and a lot of this, all of this stuff plays so well off of like the first one or two episodes, which
Mm,
on one hand is amazing because I do think this show would work well as a binge, but also your point about the Stephen
yeah.
return in this one, that really does undermine it. But I do think a lot of the other stuff, the way it's all
It's very well
slowly
set
set
up.
up and called back
Yeah.
on,
The Jake
is really
Lockley
well
thing
done.
is maybe the best setup thing in the whole show.
There's
It's
sprink
incredibly.
they were sprinkling in there like
And
from the beginning.
they talked about on Marvel.com in an interview how there's a lot of scenes early on where you see Mark and Steven talking through mirrors, and then there's another mirror just like in the corner of the frame or
Side
something,
eyeing.
where you can there's a lot of places where you think there's a certain number of mirrors, but there's also a secret one kind of in the corner that you can't
Yeah.
really see, and that's
So
where like Jake is.
so he's listening, so he's like got the upper hand, and he's aware of everything that they're talking about, but they don't even know he exists yet.
Yeah, it's pretty
Although it
crazy.
seems like they kind of do
They know
once or
something's up.
twice acknowledge that he exists, but then they just go back to not addressing it. And it seems like that maybe that would have been a really good thing to address, seeing as apparently each personality can have the autonomy to make another deal with the fucking god
Yeah,
of vengeance.
yeah.
But again, are we getting ahead? Or are we there? Are we
I mean,
there yet?
honestly, I don't really have any more notes from before the post credits. I mean, I enjoyed the actual episode. I liked where it left off. With their lives kind of. I mean, I see a lot of people saying this leaves off on a cliffhanger for a second season. I disagree. I think it leaves off on the new status quo for this character, which is Mark and
Well,
Steven are living their lives and they're happy and they've resolved their issues and they're able to do what they can. And the Moon Knight that we know from the comics is existing as Jake Lockley in the
who?
background.
Yeah, and then but they don't even know that they still are working with Khonshu. They
They
think they're
don't,
done
but
and they're out. But
I feel like that's the difference in what makes it the plot is resolved. Because it's their story
yeah,
and their story's over. As far as they're concerned, they're done. They're no longer Moon Knight.
yeah,
They're just living their lives. And we know that there is this other aspect to it. What I think this does is this doesn't set up a sequel in my mind. It sets up that if Daredevil's running around New York City in 2 years, or if Blade is looking for some teams for some people for the Midnight Suns,
they can
Jake
run into Moon.
Lockley, Jake Lockley is still active as Moon Knight. And so they can run into each other and Moon Knight can be a part of the MCU.
But is this the is that the Jake Lockley Moon Knight? Is that the version that Marvel want running around doing their team ups based on what we've seen at the end of this episode, where he's killed not only the villain, but he just walked into that hospital and just
Yeah,
gunned down the receptionist. Like
yeah, that's
this
true.
dude, this is not. And we've seen like in this show like how
Maybe
dark they're
that's part
willing
of the
to
plot
go,
though.
and it's not that dark. Yeah, but
He's
like
their
Moon Knight
Punisher.
is a superhero, and I just don't. And for all intents and purposes, what you set up at the end of this
Yeah.
season is that Jake Lockley, he's a villain. He's a villain personality, right? Because he's
Yeah.
doing the things
Does
that
he
Mark
kill
or
the people
Steven.
in the hospital?
Yeah, it's not just Harrow that he kills the receptionist going in.
Mm,
You see people when he's walking back out again, pushing the wheelchair. you can see like the people dead on the floor behind him wearing the scrubs.
Yeah,
So
I don't
it's
know why
like,
when I was watching it, I thought he had just like knocked
nah,
them out or
man,
something and
there's
then
actually
taken
like a
Harrow.
pool of head blood coming out of the person. Like they are dead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's just we've seen how dark they're willing to go, and it ain't that dark, and it certainly isn't as dark as we're gonna let one. And you know, he's a B, C, D list level superhero, but he got his own Disney Plus show. He's a Marvel superhero, and we're
Yeah,
not just. And you know, he's not Spider Man, but you still can't just have him being like a hitman, taxi driver, or not even a taxi driver because he's got dude's got a limo.
that's
Um,
I love it. I love it so much.
with the Spectre license plate, which implies maybe the Jake Lockley personality is the one with all the money.
Oh, that's the one with the moon cave.
There was a split second in this episode where I thought we was going to get it when Stephen asked, "How am I supposed to get to Cairo?" And then I'm like, and Khonshu's like, "Don't worry, boy." And I'm like, "Oh, he's going to pull out the moon copter or something, or the moon plane." And then he's just like, "I'm the god of the sky. I just make it. I can
Yeah,
just give you some wind." I guess is what he does. He's just like, "I can give you an extra boost, a
who
leg
fucking
up into the
knows? Who
sky,"
knows? Who
and
knows?
then we
He
get a
flew.
really egregious shot of Moon Knight like zooming through the sky. Like it, that was a little bit. It was a little bit corny.
I think that this doesn't. It leaves off plot threads that could be picked up later on, but I don't think that it's like a cliffhanger in the way that Loki was a cliffhanger. Loki ended on a cliffhanger. Loki
Yeah,
ended on the plot was not resolved. Uh,
nah.
but like this, for all intents and purposes, the plot is resolved. We were also just told that there's this other plot line that's happening that we have not been aware
Yeah.
of until this point.
I just don't think Marvel would be willing to leave one of their superheroes' plots resolved on that
Yeah,
brutal of a note.
I'm not saying we're never going to see Moon Knight again. I'm just saying I don't
Yeah.
know if we're going to get a second season of the show. I think this thread is going to get picked up somewhere else.
But then do you, when I want to see Moon Knight teaming up with people, I want to see like Mark Spector Moon Knight teaming up with people. I don't want people dealing with this like grizzled, like gnarly hitman
Be pretty
dude.
fun though.
Because
Be pretty cool.
I mean, and based on like the stuff that we haven't seen, where he just blacks out and all the whole
Yeah.
room of dudes just gets murked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, by the way, Layla should know what she should. She should be
She's like, what the
questioning
fuck is up, guys?
because all she says is what just happened, and it's like, well, you're the only one that knows what just happened because you just
Because you're the
watched
only one
all
that
of it.
saw it. Yeah.
But the way she's acting, like it was just like, oh, he just kind of went a little bit overboard. But no, he did some nasty shit, and she should have pulled him up for a second there and been like, no, you guys need to like, there's another plot thread here you guys
Mm,
haven't resolved yet.
mm.
Like they shouldn't just be leaving that. They must know something's going on because they're tying themselves to the bed still at the end of
Yeah.
the
Who
episode.
knows?
And
I
if they're all working together, they wouldn't need to do that
unless
because they
Jake
trust each
tied them
other.
to the bed.
But he's the one who wants to be going around murdering
No, he
people at
did it when
night.
he came back.
But then he would only be doing that to
I
because
don't know
they
why.
think
I don't know
that
why
because
either.
to make them
I just
think
said
that
it.
it wasn't untied, but then they would have had to have
I
tied
didn't
it
think
up in the
about it
first
before I
place.
said it. I just said it.
Because then they would wake up
Yeah,
and be
yeah,
like,
no,
dude,
yeah.
we're
It
tied
doesn't
to
make
the
any. Yeah,
thing.
did you tie us to the thing before we went to sleep? No, did you? No, what the?
Jake just outs himself straight
Yeah.
away.
Um.
So it's
I
interesting.
now here's the question: does Marvel? Because if Marvel is submitting this as a limited series at the Emmys. What
Yeah.
happens if it is season 2 in a week? Or season 1 in a week? You know, like
They take the Emmy away.
do they take the Emmy away? I mean, I think Oscar Isaac has a much better chance in the limited series category than I don't think he even wins if it goes to
Yeah, you think
drama because
that's probably why they've done it, right?
yeah, I mean, who knows? But like I,
But
mm,
Marvel wouldn't fuck up their plan over an
no,
Emmy
over an
thing.
Emmy. There's no way. But
They can pick up the awards now. They don't need to
unless
worry
this
about
is
that.
a limited series and the next is Moon Knight and the Scarlet Scarab, it's not Moon Knight season 2, it's a different show. You
Yeah,
know what
I
I'm
think
saying?
there's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff. It'll either
Yeah.
be that or it will just be he pops up in other things and is a
Yeah.
heavily featured character, and
Yeah.
we can use what the status quo is for him now as like a jumping off point for other stories.
Yeah.
Like, because now, say, like, if we have him in Werewolf by Night, now you've got Mark and Steven and now these characters in this spooky situation and they don't know what's going on. So you can play with that horror element because the whole thing of the mystery of this whole show is like, well, it's not really a mystery. We know he's fucking Moon Knight. It's the show that he's Moon Knight.
Mhm.
But at least then you can play with some more unknown supernatural elements when your two lead characters aren't fully
In the
um
dark.
aware of everything. Yeah.
So,
So that
okay.
could be fun, and that could be a good way to incorporate him into other shows and weave it through. Because now you've got Mark and Steven as like the characters that you can tell your exposition to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in terms of show's over, show's done. But there was like, this is when all the articles are going to start coming out where the team behind the show are going to be like, this is something we were going to do. This is something else we were going to do. This is something else we were going to do. And we're going to start to find out all these things that didn't happen. We did find out that there were 2 MCU cameos that got cut.
I
There
heard
was
about this. I
one,
don't know what they are.
well, yeah, they didn't say what they were, but there was one that was going to be in the very beginning of the premiere, and there was going to be one that was going to be at the very end of the finale.
So they didn't say what they were, but somebody
No.
still made fucking article about it. Well, I'm glad I didn't
Yeah.
click on that
Yeah.
bullshit. Thanks, Sean.
So I believe another writer on the show, a different person at one point and it sounded like these cameos were written into the script and then written out of the script before production started. Like this was something that was that begun in pre-production and was erased in pre-production. It never made it. But there was a writer that said that at one point they were going to have the Eternals interacting with the Egyptian gods. So I think maybe that would have been the one in the premiere. Have a flashback to ancient Egypt and show the Eternals interacting with shit. Maybe that was going to be the binding of Amit. Maybe they were going to start the show with that, and we were going to
That
see the
feels like
Eternals help.
something. Yeah, and I would have, like I've said, I would have liked to see more context of
Yeah,
the relationship and the workings of the the Egyptian and all these other gods that we see and hear about. Not necessarily needing to have the Eternals in there.
yeah. This is a bit of
That might be a bit much.
yeah.
When you've got 36-minute finales, you ain't got time for Eternals,
No.
and you can't afford Gemma Chan if you're doing 36-minute episodes.
The
So
other, I
yeah,
mean, I have to assume the other cameo was going to be like Blade or somebody. Like Blade
too
or Werewolf by
early for
Night or
Blade or
Blade's
Werewolf
already
by Night.
cameoed.
Yeah, but I mean, are we gonna have the first time that we? I don't
I mean, it
know.
would have been cool if Blade had been showing up like Nick Fury style, assembling the Midnight Suns. That would have been a cool thing to do.
Yeah, that would be cool. But when we don't even, I mean, we obviously will know who he is, but
Yeah,
we need to establish who he is. When we first see Nick Fury in Iron Man, he's like, "I'm Nick Fury. I run
yeah,
Shield. This is what
yeah,
I'm doing."
yeah,
You kind of need that. And when we saw Thanos, it was like, "I'm getting the gauntlet. This is what I'm
yeah.
doing. I want to wipe out the Avengers." So I feel like we would need to establish we would even need to establish who he is or what the threat
I don't
is
know. The
before we
first
can kind of
time,
start doing those scenes.
the first time we saw Thanos, he was just a dude in a chair. He didn't say anything. He just was a dude in the chair, and then he smiled.
They said,
And that was
and they
it.
said that he was going to fight the Avengers. I mean, he doesn't say it
He
exactly like
said,
that.
what do they say? They
To
say,
fight the event, to fight them is to court death or something.
yeah. Well, I mean, Blade could show up and be like, I'm here to talk to you about the Midnight Suns initiative or something. You know, I don't know. Like he can say something, you know?
Yeah.
He can have a line, but I'm glad that we didn't get any cameos. I didn't need them. When Moon Knight teams up with whoever, it'll happen, you know?
Yeah.
But I think the show stands on its own pretty well. Although I feel like a lot of people died. Like a lot of people died in that finale. So I hope they reference that at some point because they started judging all of Cairo. And did you see all those souls flying up to the pyramid? Like a lot of
Yeah.
people didn't make it out of this one.
Also, this fucking guy, the guy who like doesn't die and then he just takes his radio. It's like the guy is still the guy. Like he got judged, but it doesn't change him into this like mindless. It doesn't just convert you to the religion, right? Is that how it works? Because it wasn't. I don't think that was established.
I don't think so.
That's how it worked, and then the guy's
Yeah.
just like, okay, I give up.
He's like, oh yeah, sure, dude. Let's go kill a bunch of people. I'm down.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you have any more notes on the Marvel Studio series Moon Knight? Because I'm pretty much.
No,
I mean,
that
that's
was
it.
it. There was a few like logical fallacies in with the villain's plan, but
Yeah,
when isn't there?
yeah.
Whatever. Purple Stick Man, because Purple Man was taken. Whatever. Ethan Hawke, you just discount Kevin Bacon and everyone knows it.
Whoa. Okay, God. Well, guys,
Kevin Bacon without the moves. You're just
that
dead
has
pork.
been. Oh God. Oh no. Oh no. That has been Marvel Studios Moon Knight. Thank you so much for joining us as we have gone through quite a journey through these 6 episodes. It was not Dracula all along as I had initially thought. It was a crocodile lady instead. I think my prediction of Dracula all along is a little more realistic than crocodile lady and Birdman kaiju fight.
Talk about predictions. Can we at least acknowledge that I
You
basically
almost
predicted?
nailed the post-credit scene. Yeah,
I
you got pretty
predicted that the
close.
post-credit scene would be Jake Lockley looking in his rearview mirror,
Yeah.
and all the other details that I didn't predict. But
But
those
you got
few
really
things,
close.
I was pretty close.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I predicted Bing Bong, and now everyone's
And
been
Bing
saying
Bong.
Bing Bong, but you can't anymore because he's alive again.
Yeah, he is alive again. He did not get Bing Bong is not alive. If
Bing
you want
Bong
to remember
is
that, he
there's
didn't come
no
back.
justice for Bing Bong.
No justice for Bing Bong. He's dead. He's gone. There is no Inside Out 2 where we save Bing Bong. That's not happening.
Wait, don't you mean Bing who?
Bing who? Oh, good point. All right, guys. Thanks so much. I don't know when we'll see you again. I'm not entirely sure if I'll be able to do Miss Marvel. But at some point I'm sure we'll do something again.
What about Obi-Wan? Are you not covering Obi-Wan?
I don't think so. I haven't talked to anybody about it yet.
Oh man, well this is us talking about it. We'll do it later. But yeah.
Yeah. Of course. But thank you guys so much. Dean, where can people find you on the internet?
Go get me on Twitter at Dean Lewis 2099. Fun stuff. Always really cool, interesting stuff.
Very cool, very interesting stuff. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Sean_AFK. You guys can follow this podcast on Twitter. This channel on Twitter at Movie Blog Merc. It's on Anchor at anchor.fm/Movie Blog Merc as well. And on this YouTube channel, obviously, where you're watching it right now, hit subscribe for all the amazing content that is coming your way. That's all I've got.
Peace.
Peace.